Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I'm going to be taking up more fan questions in a segment of Ask Judy. If you enjoy these segments, please do hit like and subscribe. This question is from Dwayne Barbick, who's asking me about my filming of these YouTube segments. What's involved in your bi-weekly and then some presentations? They seem to average about 15 minutes. How much time goes into the making of these minutes? That varies a lot. There's preparation for the content. Yes, selecting good questions. I'm sure you fix yourself up for camera. I try to. Must be some stops and starts to rephrase your answers. Sometimes if I fumble over things, yes, I will stop and I will delete that take and I'll go back and do it again. Perhaps you can give us a rundown on how it's done from your perspective. You make it look so easy. I'm sure it's because of all the experience in putting show together is working in your favor. Yes. Do you record in the morning, back-to-back segments for the week? I typically record in the mornings because the lighting behind me is better, but sometimes I can't. And so I'll record in the afternoon. And that's sometimes the lighting behind me gets outdoors, gets a little fuzzy. So I don't like the light as much, but I have to work with when I can get it done. I do typically like to do more than one segment because it is work to get ready and to set up the space and all of that. So I like to do at least 2 segments at a time. Sometimes, like right now while I'm recording, I'm going to shoot 4 different segments. So that'll cover 2 weeks of segments for you. Do you have your own stash of bloopers? Yes, and I showed some of those in a segment one time just for fun. My editor put together a little montage of some of my fumbles. The character who... How can the audience help you? By liking and subscribing definitely helps. When they're interrupted by commercials, is that a good thing for you? Yes, the financing the channel is based on ad revenue, so I have no choice about the kinds of ads that are put in, but if they're there and then it helps to monetize the channel. So I'm going to give you an overview now of how this all happens. I made some notes for myself so I can kind of keep track of what's going on. So first of all, I do research for segments, which might be watching an episode, and as I watch the episode, I'm making notes about what stands out to me, what I remember, what I want to comment on. And then if I'm doing something like an Ask Judy segment where I refer to an episode, I have to go back and find which segment that was in. So that's the research of, okay, what was that episode? And then I have to go and look at the episode and find the clip I'm looking for, what might create the visual for that. So that takes time. Then I will note the season, the episode, the disc number it's on of the DVD, the time on that disc, so that my editor can find what I'm talking about. In terms of pulling questions from comments, I've set aside ones that I think are interesting, might be interesting to you. So then I'll go through when I'm putting together an Ask Judy segment to find those comments and then compile them into a segment. So then I have to figure out what segments or clips or photos might support what I'm talking about. So then I have to go and find those. So everything's all together for my editor to find. Sometimes I have to do research about people. Like I recently spoke about Ellen Corby. So I spent a lot of time reading about her background and looking through projects she had done and things like that. And then sometimes I'm doing internet searches for photos or things that can help support them, or going through my own photos and things that I have and having to scan them so that then they can be in a digital form to be included. If I'm covering an episode, I have to, make all those notations in there. So it takes many hours of preparation for the various different episodes. So sometimes I'll just spend all of a day or a good portion of a day putting together all of the background stuff for a series of segments, 2 to 4 segments that I'm going to shoot. In terms of filming, I set up the space. So I have my director chair and I have a little ring light that so that there's some front lighting for me. I have a tripod and I shoot everything on my iPhone. just because it's easy. I don't have a separate microphone, so I'm close enough to the camera that that can all record. Then, of course, I have to try and look like something. So, clean up my hair, my makeup, choose clothes, jewelry, etc. And then pick, like here, because I'm shooting 4 episodes today, choose 4 different changes of clothes and jewelry to be able to do that. And then, the filming can happen morning or afternoons. And sometimes just as I go to do it, the gardeners start up. There's some chopping going on in the background now that you may hear. But when the gardeners are like right around my yard, I have to stop and wait usually. So that's kind of a pain. I shoot short segments. My editor prefers that. So I'll shoot like 1 question at a time on an Ask Judy. And then those are different clips. Or if I'm talking about an episode, like I might, throw three or 4 thoughts together and stuff like that. So I have notes of all of those, and I type all those up and I print those off so that I have them to refer to. And the shorter segments also. So if I'm fumbling, I can easily stop and delete that take and do it again. And so sometimes I do save my bloopers if I think they might be fun, but not a whole lot. Once I'm finished, I upload all of the clips to my computer, and then I have to go through and label everything. So whether it's an episode, and then I number all of the clips. And then once I have all that together and any photos or things like that that need to go with it, I upload all of that to a shared Dropbox folder with my editor, and then I send all my notes to the editor, so he knows what the time, where to find the clips I'm talking about, and also where the various different photos are that I might be referring to. And then he does a lot of research himself. If things are being talked about, he might go and find a little bit of a clip from something, and to illustrate that may not be about the Waltons. So he does a brilliant job on that. So then once he has put an edit together, he sends me a message saying that's in Dropbox. I watch the edit just really to verify that something isn't wrong, or if there was something else that I had in mind. So then I will send him any notes. He'll do that correction. Typically, it only happens once in a blue moon that there has to be a correction. And then he will upload that to my YouTube channel behind the scenes. And then I have to do all the final prep of that. I go through and I do, he does an auto-generated set of subtitles, captions for each video. And I go through and I correct them all so that the name of Aaron is spelled E-R-I-N instead of A-A-R-O-N, things like that. So I do my best to go in and correct all of that, or make sure that what is in the subtitles is what was actually said. Sometimes, as you've seen with things, they're way off. If you're seeing something that's way off, it is not something that we generated. It is something in your settings that is giving you some YouTube generated captions that I don't know about and haven't been able to correct. And then I have to write up any details, title the thing, and just fill in a lot of other little things like that. Then I schedule it for when it will go public. And so that prep can take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour or more when I have a guest, or like when I had Ralph Sinensky and John Dayton, because there's 3 people and things overlap. It takes a lot longer to go through and sort through the actual subtitles and stuff. Or when Ralph Sinensky or John Dayton will talk about other shows they did and producers or people who worked on those, then I have to go do research to who is this person to make sure that I have the name correct and it's spelled correct. I do my best to really respect the craft of people, so I try to get their names right. So that can be a ton of research and time to really nitpick through those subtitles. Those things can take a long time. And then, of course, there's the hours and hours I spend reading all of your lovely comments and replying to them to the best of my ability. Once it goes public, then I post notices to Facebook and X. And I would do it to Instagram, but it's difficult to do links to videos. So I don't do that. I'm sorry if Instagram's your things. And so then I also go back in through Facebook comments and try and block scammers and things like that, and delete things and block things. So needless to say, a lot of time in a given week to manage my YouTube. But I really so appreciate all of you watching and supporting my channel. Thank you for joining me for this segment of Ask Judy. I hope you found it interesting hearing all about the details of how I put these segments together and everything that goes into it. I hope you'll join me next time for more behind the scenes of the Waltons, more Ask Judy, and more special guests. Thanks for watching.